I will talk about the sequel for the I want to call it the cult favorite South Korean zombie horror film from 2016. That would be Train to Busan. This would be Peninsula, right? I actually remember really enjoying it and appreciate it for what it is. The thing is that I watched it over again, in preparation for this movie here, and I could see why people, would regard it that high, have that
Right.
so highly regarded, right? For me, I don't love it, love it, love it, love it, but I do appreciate how emotionally driven it was. That to
Yep.
me is what really makes that show work. You know what I mean? 'Cause you had a dad, you had a daughter, and they didn't want to be in this situation. They were just on a train heading out to go and meet his ex-wife, right? And then some person came in that was infected, and one thing led to the next, and not gonna spoil how it ends, but it was just so emotional. It just had a lot of gut
Right.
punches, throughout the show, and it also said a lot without really going too deep into. But then again, I have to know a lot about South Korean society to really get. That
Right.
would be about South Korean society, right? How the classes, social classes, look at each other, right? Because there's moments where the higher ups don't even want the ones lower, perceived to be lower than them, to even come into the same compartment that they are in, you know what I mean? And the excuse is, oh, they could be infected, right? So there's those little socio-political stuff that he squeezed in, but it wasn't too direct. It wasn't too in your face, right? But yeah, I mean, I mean, it was like a nice little departure from the American style of zombie media, basically, right? And of course, I have to bring up The Walking Dead, because yeah, you know what I mean, within the mid to late 2010s. I mean, when you're talking zombies, yeah, that was like the show to go to, right? And I had to bring this up too because, and I know for some people this might be somewhat of a gripe, but yeah, Peninsula does borrow from The Walking Dead, right? But
Right.
what the story is about, right? So it starts off basically at the time when the infection takes place, right? Well, what happened that there was this bio factory and some virus was released, and people got sick and whatnot, right? So the show just basically throws us into Armageddon, right? People are dying, I mean, the shit just going crazy, right? And
Right.
we are centered on this Marine captain, right? Not gonna call names because they're Korean, right? Forgive me, right? And essentially, he's trying to get his older sister and her husband and his nephew to the ship, right? Leaving South Korea, but on the ship itself, not surprising, one of the people that they saved, was infected, and then of course that just spread, and people just start going crazy and whatnot. And just to talk about how the sickness is spread, right? So it's mainly, when someone is bitten, they just instantly turn into, they become zombie fed, right?
Right.
It's not like somebody will have their skin ripped off, or being eaten alive or whatnot, and then it turns. So it's one of those little zombie things that doesn't really make that much sense, like logically when you think about it. But it's kind of like, what, it's a zombie film, so like whatever, right? So
Right.
so point is, right, you would think, oh, the person have to die before they turn into a zombie, but no, they are just trying to get bitten, right? But it's
Right.
just kind of funny that a whole bunch of zombies would just gang up on one human being, and you're thinking, well, shit, they're just being eaten alive. So, oh, they're alive now. Okay, whatever. Right. So, long story short, the Marine and his brother-in-law, they're the only, they are one of the few survivors on that ship, right? So 4 years later, they find themselves, they're in Hong Kong, right? So they run afoul of some Hong Kong gangsters, basically, right? Well, they're not technically triad, but they're just like trying to be triad people, right?
Right.
One of the people involved is this American guy. For the life of me, I swear he was trying to do like a Mickey Rock kind of
Right.
impersonation kind of thing, but he's just trying to play that old tough guy, basically, right? But what he says is that there's, basically what they used to do, because they make deals with the other countries that more or less trying to keep. What happened is that because of the infection, it mainly is in, okay, so it's only in Korea right now, right? So essentially that country has been blocked off by the other countries, right? So these gangsters more or less make a deal with with Hong Kong, what I mean, who basically just trying to prevent people from going in, right, or coming out, basically, right. So they will just kind of get supplies in and out, basically. And in this case, now there's a truck that had food, but it was also money, like US dollars, like thousands of dollars that they were trying to get out of South Korea and onto this pier, right, which is at this peninsula, hence the title, right? But one thing led to the next, the person got killed, right? So the truck is just there, just sitting down there waiting, right? So the plan is that our heroes and a few other South Koreans will sneak onto, will go back into the city itself, get the truck, and meet the gangsters at the pier, and then just head back home, and they will be set
Right.
for life, basically, right? So the catch is now, okay, so they do the job, they go in now, they have to be careful of the zombies, and I mean, if you remember from the first movie, they are blind when it's dark, basically they are blind, right? But any bit of light that they see, they just go rabid, right? So they have to kind of maneuver their way through the town, and they get to the truck, they do what they have to do, right? Here's the problem now. There is this particular ragtag group of soldiers, right? I think it's called Unit 651. If I got the name wrong, please forgive me, right? And essentially, just to talk Walking Dead for a bit, it's essentially Negan and his group again.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
the
kind of borrowed for.
crazy,
Right.
psycho, tough guy who wouldn't hesitate to beat his men down to shape, you know what I mean? So the brother-in-law ends up being captured by this group of soldiers, right? The Marine guy, the hero himself, he ends up meeting this family. And it's kind of ironic because this was a family that he could have saved at the very beginning of the show, but because it's all about every man for himself, he kind of left them back there.
Right.
So they are like the last line of defense. They know how to handle themselves. They know how to use guns and all that. Well, essentially, it's a woman, right, who call on the shots, basically, but she has two daughters. Found they realized, well, they basically want to get that truck now and then go back to, well, get to the PA and get out. But at the same time now, our hero has to go and save his brother-in-law, and that, in a nutshell, is what Peninsula is about, right? So just to get the obvious out of the way, no, this is not exactly like the first movie. I know for some people that will be a turn-off, right? There's a few aspects about it that still exist. That will be its emotional core, right? There's a
Right.
there's a there's quite a few gut punching emotional moments. You know what I mean? Like that's what the first film did. Like they will always have like a character crying. They were like in the case of the first movie, a little girl that cries so much, and it's like, oh gosh, man, you just literally ripping my heart out with this one. So they kind of do the same thing here, but it's at a climactic moment that I don't want to spoil, right? So yes, there is emotion in the show, but the show isn't really about the emotion. It's really what it is in a nutshell. It's Escape from New York meets The Walking Dead. That's what it is. You have characters
Right.
who sneak into a town that is overrun by these baddies, and they have to do this job, and they have this time limit and whatnot. And they always run into these weird characters because remember, this is technically a post-apocalyptic sci-fi that we watch here, right? And that's
Right.
that's another thing that well, for me, I kind of appreciate it, but I know for some people they're like, but it's not like the first movie, where it's essentially a post-apocalyptic sci-fi film, a sci-fi action film, right?
Right.
There are elements of horror in it for sure, right? But just like in the first film, but it's not entirely a horror-based film, right? It's not socially socio-political this time, but it's just like, yeah, this is how the future of South Korea would look like if there was a zombie apocalypse. It just looks and plays exactly like that, right? You get some really, really, really dope action scenes, and one that there's a nice long take involving, well, just to bring up Walking Dead again, a game involving prisoners and rampaging zombies, right? So they do that thing, right? They do that trope. But they had a nice little long takeaway that's following character after character as they're running or they're being attacked basically by zombies. It's a really, really cool scene.
Right.
um and also, too, as far as characterization goes, it's not as strong as in the first film. Like in the first film, you understood, you got a sense of who the main character was, right? Who the daughter, or what the daughter's role in his life and all that kind of stuff. Here is just kind of two-dimensional. Oh, you're the bad guy, or you're the tough badass who's supposed to stop him. All right, cool. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of these kind of shows. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to stop to tell you backstory and all that kind of stuff, right? So cool. But I would admit though, because of how familiar the tropes in the show are, it does kind of take away from your overall expectations of this show, of it being a sequel. Like you're thinking, oh,
Right.
this is going to be better than Train to Busan, the original one. But no, because the first film did its damnedest to try really to not use, or the same tropes and cliches of previous zombie films, right? Especially from the states. Here, it's kind of taking bits and pieces of those same things with some post-apocalyptic stuff that you've seen before, like how I said, Escape from New York. Anything like in the future, basically with where things just go into hell. You know what I mean? They kind of bring that up here. So yeah, for some people, they might watch this and be like, yeah, been there, seen this. I kind of know what's gonna happen next. But I honestly felt that they found unique and clever ways of making it, a little distinct, a little unique to them, right? But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. Though it's a less superior sequel than to the original. I'll admit
Right.
that, but I do like the fact that, and if you kind of look at the title itself, right, because it's titled Peninsula, but also in the states they have Train to Busan presents
Right.
Peninsula. So right over there, it's kind of telling the audience, yes, it's in the same universe, it's the same world basically, but we're not trying to do Train to Busan again. That's done. It's over, right? We're doing something a little bit different. So I applaud the creative team behind, the series, because there's also an animated film, Soul Station, that came out a while back. I haven't seen it as yet. But I do applaud the fact that they did some world building. They're actually kind of going back into this whole zombie apocalypse and kind of exploring new avenues now. You know what I mean? So I dug that, but it's just that it does have these zombie tropes, the cliches, stuff like that, and yeah, for some people that will make or break their enjoyment. But for me, I just kind of saw it for what it was. Um, I actually saw it, Saturday night. Well, basically watch it, Saturday night. I had nothing to do, and I would say,
Right.
yes, it's a good Saturday night flick, right? When you have nothing to do, you put it on, you shut your brain off for 2 hours, and you have a blast, right? But I don't see this having that much longevity like the first film, where you could go back and be like, yeah, you know what? I like the emotional, nature of the show. I like how you could feel for these characters. First time a zombie movie make me cry. You know what I mean? You don't really get that here. You get the thrills, you get the chills and whatnot. You get some actually genuine laughs in it, and you get some, a couple of, you know, gut punches and some, close to Mantia's moments, you know what I mean? But not too close though. But for
Right.
what it is, I'm actually feeling a lighter, decent 3.5 out of 5, man. I would say it's worth checking out. But I would just say, if you're going expecting the same thing like the first movie, you'll be very, very, very disappointed. If you're going expecting some fresh, original, unique take on the zombie genre, you're not gonna get that. Um, and I mean, the first film wasn't, well, the really one, the major original thing about the first movie, to be honest, let's be real here, is the fact that a majority of it took place on a train, right? On a subway. That was it. And the other stuff was just characterization and, the emotion and all that kind of stuff, right? But it wasn't like the most original zombie film ever. So, same thing here with this one, except the fact is, yeah, it does draw from other films. It does use certain scenarios and tropes that you've seen before. There's even this last thing I want to say. There's even some Mad Max stuff near the end, like a little car chase in the third act, which
Right.
plays out very well actually, in my opinion. But still, it's just like it'll instantly remind you of Fury Road. You want to see it, right? But
Right.
yeah, I thought it was decent for what it was. I'll don't see myself watch this again in a hurry. But yeah, I would say if you're a fan of the first movie, give this one a look, man. And I don't know where this franchise, if you want to call it that, is gonna go from this point on. You know what I mean? But I actually think they have a lot of places where they could explore this whole zombie apocalypse in South Korea thing. Like I have a feeling they could explore that even further. But in the meantime, Peninsula is out, so yeah. I mean, if you want to check it out, check it out. But if you really want this to be be better than the first film, yeah, it's best to keep your expectations kind of low for this one.
Right.